Okay, so the next part. I gotta drink some water for this because Daddy's about to get pissed, so prepare. Prepare yourself. The villain of this film is the rich guy. And I honestly, this is the worst part of the film, honestly. The, so, I don't know what to say other than this film feels classist. And there's no other word for it. This film feels classist because the guy who is the villain is a white billionaire male guy, and like he wants the dinosaurs for like money purposes, right? But like there's no part where he feels like a real villain. It's more like the film is trying to convince you that he's bad rather than trying to actually make him bad. So, and what do I mean by that? I mean that like every evil thing this guy did was assumed. Like, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of crazy how this movie is just like, this is the bad guy. You're supposed to not be rooting for him. He's an evil dude. He's an evil white male billionaire. And it's like, but there's no part where he's actually evil. So like the whole thing about them, every part in this episode, this review, this entire review part, where I have talked about how the guy is like, whenever I speak about them talking about the billionaire guy, I'm always like, there's a reason for that. Is because they don't know that he's going to keep all the money for himself. So all we get from the first beginning part of the film, so when I was talking about in the synopsis, I was talking about the guy, this millionaire guy driving through the city, and he gets stopped up by a dinosaur, and he's kind of cool to it, and it's kind of cruel. But like that's the only part where he kind of felt like he was being very cruel, but like anyone would do that. Like, I'm sorry, but anyone would do that. I know that the mercenary girl is like, that's a little cruel. It's like, you're a fucking mercenary. What the fuck are you talking about? That's a little cruel. Like, your job is crime. Like, what the fuck? So like it's like weird. And then like he talks about what he wants the dinosaurs for. He's like, their blood is kind of there's this guy who assumes that their blood can be some kind of help this heart disease and everything like that. And we want to try and get that to the thing, which I thought was interesting. My first thoughts of the film was like, this is interesting because it's like this guy, this millionaire guy, actually does want to help people, and like that's an interesting way for the film to take. And then we get to meet Henry, and he's just like, yeah, the dinosaurs. There is proof that this dinosaur's blood is like going to help people fight these diseases. But then all throughout the film, when they're trying to establish him as a bad guy, they're not doing a good job of it because he's not inherently evil. He's just human. Like, and like, there's a whole thing there where it's like, well, he's still a bad guy because this and that. But like, the whole time, this was not like, so, number one, boring ass villain. When was, like, how many fucking times are we gonna have rich white male villains? Like, this has literally been the last two movies. In Dominion, it was Dachshund. We got Dachshund here. It was Dachshund, right? And then Fallen Kingdom was literally two super rich white dudes. The one guy who was wanting to auction off the dinosaurs, and the one guy that was willing to buy them, right? Like, and then also in at least Jurassic World, the guy is like, I don't think he's fully white. He looks like he's mixed race at least, but like Hoskins also wanted to use the dinosaurs to make a weapon for his own greedy purposes. Like, how many times are we just going to have greedy villain thing in the Jurassic Park franchise? Like, it's getting old. And so I thought it was interesting that the rich guy was this kind of the main character that we were seeing. Because, like, usually a movie kind of does start with your main character in a way, especially considering that this movie started at the containment breach with the D-Rex, and then it skipped to this scene, right? Like when I think of that, I think like, oh, this guy's gonna be our main character. That's where my mind goes anyway. So like when I saw this and I saw this guy trying to actually do some good, I was like, that's interesting. That's a cool little, twist, because goddamn, if we don't have fucking white male billionaires being the evil guy in every movie. So it's like, okay. And then like everything goes downhill. The first part is like where you get a sense that, oh, maybe he's not such a good dude. He's like, when the sailboat crashed and they were sending out a distress call, and he's like, well, we can come back and we can get them, or we can send someone else to go get them. And it's like, yeah, that's bad, but that's also just like, that's not an evil thing. He's not saying it, like, especially considering the way that he did it, right? Is like, he's not saying like, oh, he's like, oh, forget about them. They're probably already dead. Like, we should just go. I command us to go forward with this. Like, he's not being malicious. He's being more greedy than anything, which is not inherently malicious. I know that people like to correlate those two things so much, but like it's not. Like, unless you are being malicious in order to get your greed, there's not really, he's just being greedy, where it's like, well, we can save them, but like maybe do this first. Like, there's this whole thing there, and then like, and the other guy on the ship says the same thing, and then we're supposed to feel this hurrah when the rest of the characters are like, we're turning around. We're gonna go save that sailboat family. And I'm like, okay. Like, should we be like, I feel nothing, for one. And also, it's just like, I see what you're trying to do, movie. You're trying to make the rich guy out to be the bad guy. Okay, that's okay. But then we get the part where the whole thing of the movie is that the older daughter of the guy, like, is like, he tried to kill me. And so, for those who haven't seen Rebirth, there's a part where the girl, when they're getting attacked by the Mosasaurus and the Spinosaurus, the girl runs over and is like, she's calling the Coast Guard, I think. And like, they can't be there because the Coast Guard will arrest them because like, oh, well, they're not supposed to be there. Like, you can't go onto this island. That's why he hired mercenaries instead of actual, like, normal people, because they were like, they're supposed to be, get them in there undercover. And like, the girl goes to call the Coast Guard, and the rich guy goes and he tries to stop her, right? He's like, please, don't do this. And then when she continues to do it, he goes over and he grabs the phone with her, and there's a little bit of a struggle. And she ends up falling and then sliding to the end of the boat. And like, he's sitting there because he fell down too. And he's just watching her, and she slips away. And like, this is supposed to be that moment where she says he tried to kill her. And I'm sorry, but like the whole time I was thinking like, number one, the guy doesn't want to go to jail. Pretty understandable reaction. If this was any other guy, if this was a normal person who wasn't rich, everyone would be on their side. Like, I hate to say that, but everyone would be on their side. This is where I mean where, like, the movie feels classist, where it's like, this guy is a villain because he doesn't want to go to jail, but he's rich, so he's going to jail anyway. Like, there's this whole thing where it's like, if this guy was black and he didn't want to go to jail, everyone would be like, oh, I totally understand, the system is rigged against you. Like, there'd be this whole thing in the movie, right? Like, put aside, like, any political thing that you've heard, right? Put aside any political notions, because I'm not making this political. This is purely about the movie itself and the point that the movie is trying to prove. This is not about real life. Stop comparing movies to real life, people, okay? You gotta stop doing that shit. I'm just talking about in this movie, in this film, in movies in general, most all the time, if someone is going to jail, they're like, no, jail's a bad place to go. Jail's terrible unless it's a rich guy. And they're like, you just don't want to go to jail. It's like, nah, duh. And second, this would actually be a great way to establish him as a villain if he did actually try to kill the girl. He doesn't try to kill her, he just doesn't save her. Like, there is a huge difference. So again, they get into a struggle. It'd be different if the millionaire guy pulled a knife on her and was like, get away from that phone. And like, right? That'd be a totally different situation. But instead, all the rich guy does is he panics. He panics when he sees her at the phone and she's like, no, I'm calling the Coast Guard. And he panics. He's like, don't do that. And he goes and he grabs her and they wrestle a little bit and they both end up falling and she gets slid off the side and he's still in the boat. And all he does is watch her as she slips away. And yes, you can say like, well, because he didn't save her, he was technically trying to kill her. But like, in my eyes, I saw that as him just freezing. Like, I am sorry, but like, not every fucking hero in a movie has to go and save somebody. Like, that's not how real life works. In the real world, you are more likely to freeze than to save somebody just out of the kindness of your heart, just because it's a good thing to do. Like, they play this off in the movie like it's this big villainous thing where he's like, he let her slip off, so he tried to kill her. It's like, no. I think the guy just froze because, number one, they're getting attacked by dinosaurs. Like, this is not a thing where it's like they're trying to there's this horrible turn. So like, for example, in Fallen Kingdom, it is very much established that the bad guys are the bad guys because of the moment with Owen Grady. They shoot, they tell Owen Grady how much he led them to Blue, right? Like, Owen's like, hey, Blue, what's up? And she's like, hey, Owen. And then they're kind of reconnecting. And then they shoot Blue with the tranquilizer, and she goes insane and tries to kill someone. She accidentally gets shot in the process. Owen freaks out. He's like, what are you doing? And then the one guy, I can't remember what his name is, but he's played by that actor who played Buffalo Bill. But Buffalo Bill, he just full out shoots him with a tranq gun. And Owen's like, you son of a bitch. And then he falls over. And Buffalo Bill's like, okay, people, wrap it up. Like, that is peak villain moment. He literally betrayed them in that moment. He left Owen to die. Like, he shot him knowing that it would trank him, and like, just because Owen got out of line a little bit with the whole dinosaur thing. Like, that was a moment where he was just you can even see it on his face. This isn't the part where he panicked and was like, oh, we gotta take care of Owen, we gotta take Owen out. He was literally just like, nope, we don't need you anymore. Like, that's all he did, and that was a peak villain moment. That's how you do villain moments. An actual betrayal. In Rebirth, literally the only thing the guy does is he panics, and then he freezes and doesn't save her. Like, and there's no part where it says that he freezes, but here's the thing. All they had to do in this movie was give him an evil grin when she slips off. And I know that sounds a bit cartoonish, but give him something. Give him something other than shock. Because when I saw that, I thought he just froze up. Because, like, he falls down and he's looking at her sitting down and he's like, oh my God. And, like, she's down there. She's like, help me. And she's kind of struggling and he's like, oh God. And then she slips off. Like, that's what happens. There's no part where he's like, and then he just gets up and walks away. Like, it'd be so much better even if he just got up and stood up and was looking at her, like, he doesn't even have to smile. All he has to do is get up into a standing position and look down on her as she slips away. That would have been way better. Like, you don't even have to do the cartoonish evil grin. You just have to show the audience that he could have, like, he chose not to save her. But in this moment that the movie presents to us, it is literally like he froze. He's still on the ground. He's still looking at her in shock and awe, and then she slips off. Like, to me, that was just like, as far as I'm concerned, the guy froze up, which a lot of normal people do in a situation like that, especially considering he's rich. He doesn't get action a whole lot, wink wink, but like, he's not an action man, he's rich. Like, so the fact that he would freeze up in this instant actually makes a lot of sense. And then for her to be like, did he try to kill me? It's like, he didn't try to kill you. He tried to stop you from calling the Coast Guard because that would mean he'd go to jail, which, like, by the way, if they did all go to jail, so much for those people with that heart disease, right? Because then no one would have got the heart disease stuff. Like, that whole thing. And then he might have just froze up and chose not to save her or something like that. Like, I don't know. I felt like that was really bad way of establishing a villain. Like, no matter what your like thoughts are on that part or the rich villain guy, maybe people really like the rich villain thing because it's something that a lot of people can't relate to. Not a lot of people can relate to being rich. That's why people feel okay. It's to demonize rich people because not a lot of people can live that life, right? So it's easier to demonize rich people than to demonize poor people or even middle class people. That's fine if you want to do that, but like either way, the how they established him as a villain was shit. Like it's just like, why would you do that? And then we get this whole part in the film where I thought it was going to get a little bit better because there's a part where he's alone and he's like doing something, he's washing up or something like that. He's away from the group and he looks up and there's this helicopter in the trees, right? It's being held up by vines. And in the helicopter, there's a pilot dude and he's holding a gun. And the rich guy, he goes and he gets a stick and he kind of wrestles the gun off of him and he grabs the gun and he's like, and then he puts it in his pants. So it's assuming to the audience like, oh, now he has a gun. He's going to betray them. Never happens. Like, it never happens. Like, actually, if for those who have seen the movie, actually look back at that scene, at this movie, and ask yourself, did he betray them? He didn't. We literally get a part where, like, because I thought the second they show up, he's going to shoot the girl, right? He's going to shoot her. Like, because I was like, okay, that would establish him as definitely a villain because he's willing to kill this girl just to cover up the supposed crime he did of not saving her. And then he's like, okay, that's cool. But then when they do reunite, all she does is she screams at him that he tried to kill her. And he's like, no, she's being delusional. Like, that's his only defense. He never uses the gun. As far as I know, he uses it to try and scare away the flying raptor creatures. He shoots the gun at them. But that's it. So the film tries to make it out like he grabbed that gun so that he could kill the girl when they meet up again so he could cover up his own crime. But in reality, all I see was him trying to get the gun for self-defense. Because, like, that's all he uses it for, is trying to ward off the flying raptor creatures. Like, oh my god, like, all he had to do was walk up when the instant he saw her and fucking shoot her, just like Buffalo Bill did in Fallen Kingdom. He didn't take a second to think about it. And it is a kind of a different situation because they would have all been like, what the hell did you do? Like, why did you do that? But, like, all he had to do was be like, she was a liability or something like that. And, like, he has the case and everything. And he's like, and he has the gun. Like, he could have been like, all right, now nobody fucking touches me. Where's a vehicle? I'm getting off this island. And you're staying here because I can't have you blabbing about what I did. That's all you had to do. In the moment when the sailing family and the mercenary guys meet up again, that's all you had to do to establish him as an actual villain. But he doesn't do that. All he does is when she accuses him of trying to kill her, he says, she's delusional. She doesn't know what she's talking about, which is an understandable thing to say. Like, I hate to say it, but, like, imagine you're on a boat, and if the Coast Guard finds you, you could go to jail. And the whole reason you even came to this island could be in trouble. And you're like, okay, don't call the phone. And then you wrestle with this girl, this teenage girl, and you all both fall over. She's sliding off the boat, and you're sitting there like, and you freeze up because it's a terrible situation to be in. And you're like, oh God, and you didn't get to her in time. And then she starts saying, you tried to kill me. You tried to kill me. I think I would be doing the same thing. I'd be like, no, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I froze up. The boat thing, she slid off the boat. There was nothing I could do. Like, that would be my actual reaction. Like, if you wanted to establish him as a villain, establish him as a fucking villain. And here's the thing. I think the only reason why they didn't do that is because they didn't... God forbid you kill a child in Jurassic Park. Which is hilarious because, again... in the characters part where I was talking about how no one dies in Jurassic Park movies anymore, no one relevant, and how in the books it was very gruesome and brutal, like, I'm just like, okay, like, only bad guys and side characters are allowed to die in Jurassic Park movies, and that is honestly pretty sad to me. And it's just like, I don't know, the bad guy villain just kind of pissed me off because it's like, and then yeah, he goes and he dies, and like, someone could say, he betrayed them because he took off with the samples on his own. It's like, Yeah, he found out that they had a boat dock. And as far as we know, again, so much of what he does in this movie that the movie itself is trying to play off as evil is assumptions. This is assuming. So much of this is assuming. So like when he goes off he drives off with the Hummer vehicle, he has the blood samples, and like, yeah, you could assume that he's going there to take the boat for himself and leave them on the island. But as far as we know, he's going there to start the boat up and make sure it's started, so when everyone gets there, they can take off. All of this is assumption. All of this is assuming he's a bad guy. We don't ever get a moment where he's actually evil. And here's the thing. Also, all they had to do, another thing that they had to do is, tell us straight to our faces what he was going to do with the blood samples. Because, again, look back at the film. Did he ever say that he was going to, pawn the heart disease off to the highest bidder? Did he ever say that? He didn't. He didn't ever say that. In the film, as far as I remember, there was never a part where he's like, yeah, and once I get this blood for this heart disease, I'm going to be rich because I'm going to sell it off to these people for the highest money and I'm going to be even richer than I already am. There's no part where he says that. Every fucking time that Henry, the dino nerd, brings up the fact that, he's just going to sell it off to the highest bidder, it's assumptions. It's literally assuming. And why do they assume that? It's because the guy's rich. I am sorry, but this movie felt so classist, where it was literally they're assuming he's going to do the wrong thing. This whole movie, the audience is meant to assume he's going to do the wrong thing just because he's the rich guy. That is literally again, I have no problem with there being rich villains. I think that the rich white villain character is a bit overdone. That's basically all I think that about the rich white villain thing. To me, it's okay in Fallen Kingdom, but it gets a little old. Again, Dominion, they had the same thing where it's okay, can we stop with the rich white villain character? Please, it's just because it's getting old. It's not because I specifically have a heart for rich white people. It's purely because it's getting old. The trope is getting old, for one thing. But in those movies, in those previous movies, they established that they're evil. They established that these are the villains. Again, in Jurassic World, when Hoskins is talking to Chris Pratt, you can tell he's he doesn't want to use the raptors to help soldiers. He's trying to make it out like he's doing that. But you can tell, not only does he go behind Owen's back, but he's pushing him to be these people are weapons. And even when everything goes wrong for him, he's God, we can't see this. And he wants them to record it so that he could be yeah, we're gonna totally take these dinosaurs. They're going to be a weapon. And then even at the end of the movie, after the raptors supposedly betrayed Owen and started killing people, he was still no, this is the way of the future. Because Gray, the kid, is that's not a real dinosaur. And Hoskins is nope, but it will be when we make it, and it's going to be a military weapon, which is what happens with the Indoraptor in the next film. All of this is for money. And in Fallen Kingdom, when they're selling off the Indoraptor, Henry Wu is literally whoa, what are we doing? We can't sell this. The Indoraptor is a prototype. We spent all this time on this thing. And literally the other rich white dude is we can make another one. We have $1 billion on the line right now. We can't just say no to that. Right? There's a whole thing. These guys are established as evil. In Rebirth, there is no part where it's not assuming that he's going to do the wrong thing. For all we know, he could be taking the blood samples and actually using them to help people. We don't know that. We are assuming. And Henry being a little fucking worm tongue in our main girl character's ear, where he's like, it would be so cool if we could, like, he's almost like flirting with her and shit, where it's like, you know, you'd be such a good person if you just took this and sold it off to some other thing and like gave it to everyone so that everyone could have this amazing miracle cure. And she's like, okay, yeah, sure, I wouldn't get any money out of it, but like, it's this whole thing. And like, they're doing this away from the rich guy, for one, and then they're like, it feels like he's gaslighting her into believing that this millionaire guy's actually going to do the wrong thing just because he's rich. There is no other reason for them to assume he's going to do the wrong thing. There's never a part where they're like, yeah, he's been known to make, this guy is known for making miracle cures in medicine and then selling it off to the highest bidder. It's what this guy does. That's all you had to say. That is all you had to say. All you had to have is Henry telling the main character, female gal, like, yeah, this is what he does. This is what, no, it's not the millionaire guy specifically. It's all millionaires. Henry is assuming that the millionaire dude's gonna do this for money because he's rich. It's not anything about his character. It's not anything about his company. It's not anything about his specific personality or what he does for a living. It is because he's assuming he's going to do the wrong thing. And why does he assume that? He assumes that because he's like any other rich guy. Like, it is actually frustrating how much it's like, we are assuming this. This is all assumption. Like, the whole movie, I was thinking, like, did I miss something here? Like, did I miss the fact that, like, yeah, we can assume that he was kind of being a little bit greedy when he didn't want to take the sailboat family. But again, if they took on the family, and mind you, this is exactly what happens. If they took on strangers who didn't know what they were doing, who didn't know that they were in uncharted waters, right? Or not uncharted, but like illegal waters, they would call the Coast Guard on them and they'd all be going to jail. Like, there is a reason why the billionaire guy didn't want the sailboat family on their ship. And that is for a pretty reasonable reason. Like, it's like, yeah, maybe they would have died. And like, morally speaking, saving them is the right thing to do. But I can see the billionaire's perspective where he's like, oh no, we can wait. Maybe we can save them on the way back. Or maybe we can do all this stuff. Like, trying to keep everyone out of jail. Like, oh my gosh. No. I'm not doing this thing where it is so blatantly classist that they made this guy the bad guy because he's rich. That's it. And it's like, that is so morally twisted in a way where it's like, you are assuming the guy is bad because he's rich, not because of what he actually does. Again, I have no problems with rich white villains other than the fact that they're kind of overdone. But like, in Fallen Kingdom, in Jurassic World, in all these other movies where there are rich white villains in other movies, it is established what they are going to do with it. They are going to either make money or make a weapon to make money off of it. And they show it's very like, there's almost a very comedic scene where in Fallen Kingdom, the guy who's running the auction, it's like the numbers going up about how much money he's making is literally reflected in his glasses, and he's like, hey, the money. Like, that part was like, although it's a little bit comedic, it's very much showing how much greed has taken over his mind, that he's like selling these animals, and he's like, oh yes. And even Henry's like, what are you doing? This is not an animal for sale. The Indoraptor's not for sale. He's a prototype. And he's like, no, we can't just throw all that money away. Like, it is very much established that this guy will do whatever it takes to get money by any means possible, but like we don't know that with the guy in Rebirth. There's no part where, again, all they had to do was establish that, number one, he does want the blood just to sell it off to the highest bidder, just to make money off of it. That's all you had to do. Number two, you had to make, in that scene where he could have saved the daughter from slipping off the boat, all you had to do is make him stand up and watch her as she slips away. Instead, we get assumptions that he's going to use the blood and sell it off to the highest bidder. And then we also have a scene where, as far as I'm concerned, the guy froze up. He was sitting on his ass. He didn't get up. He had this shocked freaking look on his face as the girl slipped away. Like, there's no part in here where he was like blatantly evil. Like, this is, oh my gosh, this makes me just as mad as like in Frozen. They do the same shit. In fact, it reminded me so much of that in Frozen, where it's like the only people who saw the daughter slip off and the rich guy was the audience. So this would be a perfect moment to show the audience that this guy's evil, and the only other person who knows that is the daughter character. In Frozen, and I think this was highlighted in the game theory or the film theory video, The True Villain or whatever it was that Matt Pat did, all the movie had to do was that in the moment where Hans and Anna, I think the first time they meet, I haven't seen Frozen in like years, so forgive me if I'm a little bit off here, but there's a part where Hans and Anna meet, and then Hans kind of falls off into the water, and he's under the boat. The horse like lifts his foot, and the boat goes over with him, and like he's under the water, under the boat, in the air pocket of the boat, and the only people who see that scene is the audience. No one else sees that. Not even the fucking horse sees him under there. And yet, he lifts up the boat, and you see this, like, actual nice smile on him. He's like, that girl was cute. Like, there's no malicious intent in him whatsoever. That would have been a perfect part to have him have an evil smirk or an evil grin, something, right? Because the only people who can see it are the audience. Why would you make a part where the only people who can see it are the audience, and you make it very blatantly obvious that the guy is not that bad? Like, oh my god. And like, I don't know. It make me mad. Make me mad. Big me mad. Like, I was just so, no. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking here. It just seems so cheap that they were just like, we're making the bad guy the rich white guy. And that's the only category that he's evil, is that he is rich, he is white, and he is male. That's it. And it's just so dumb and also not okay because, again, classism. It's like, can we not do this? Can you actually make a good, decent villain? Just make a decent villain. Like, this, again, possibilities and wasted potential is like one of my things that I hate the most, because it's like all you had to do was one simple little thing. That's all you had to do. That's all you had to do. And like, you didn't even, you dropped the ball. You couldn't do that. Like, I'm sorry. It honestly pissed me off, because it was like, why would you do that? Why would you make it so blatantly obvious that literally the only evil in this guy is all under assumption? And you know what they say about assuming? It makes an ass out of you and me. Like, what? Oh my gosh, it was frustrating. So, that was the villain character in the Rebirth. And honestly, that was probably the worst part. I'd like to say that the characters were the worst part. But like, I'm going to say that this part hurt worse because it's actually like malicious classism. And like, the characters part, at least that could be a mistake. And even so, if the characters were like bland or whatever, okay. Like, at least make the villain interesting? No. Like, so I guess all the characters are really the worst part. Because like, why can't we just have a movie about dinosaurs? Like, let's just have a movie about dinosaurs, because the humans in these movies are not pulling their fucking weight. They're not interesting. They're blatantly making classism the main evil in this film, and then like, and they're just boring. They're like not, yeah, it's just, I'm running on 30 minutes here, so this is it. And this is really all I had to say, but like I had to make a separate video on this because it frustrated me to no end that this was the main villain that we got in this film, and god damn it if it's just not. Number one, rich white villain is getting old. Okay, can we come up with something else? And then two, it's not even a villain. It's a guy who was either, as far as I'm concerned, misunderstood and assumed to be evil based on the amount of money in his bank account. And like, if you are thinking that everyone is evil because they have they have a lot of money in their bank account, you're like no better than the people who are the actual rich white people who are actually bad. You are no better because you are making assumptions on people that is not okay in a movie. Again, we're talking in movie's sake here, but like, as an audience member, I was like, I just freaking hate that, dude. Like, it's just boring. We've had this character for the last 3 movies. Literally, oh my god. So for the last 3 movies, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and Jurassic World Dominion, all the villains were rich dudes. That's insane that you have a whole trilogy where every villain is the fucking same, and we finally get a 7th movie and it's the same fucking thing. Are you kidding? Like, almost making it the same villain archetype is almost as maddening as the classism thing in itself, because it's like, I'm tired of this. Like, stop it with the rich villain thing. Like, oh my gosh. Like, it's boring. It's boring. I'm done with it. Can we stop? Like, I remember when in Jurassic Park, The Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3, what were the villains in those movies? Can you count the villains in those movies? Oh wait, what's that? There was no villains in those movies. You know who the villains were? The fucking dinosaurs that were trying to eat them. Like, there was no villains in those movies. The only villain in that movie was Nedry. Like, that's the only guy who was actually kind of a villain. Like, otherwise we kind of got, in a way, rich white villain, kind of, in the guy who took over InGen, who was like, I think he was Hammond's nephew, right? Who was like, he got to take the dinosaurs off the island. Like, he had that weird voice, but like, you know, he was the one that brought the T-Rex and its baby to the mainland, right? But like, even he was not a villain in the way that he was just, again, he was a rich guy who was greedy, but it didn't make him out to be like a villainous character in the way that like he was this big object to be hurtled upon. He was more like a cataclysm for more dinosaur things, which is the way it should be. Your human characters being villains is just so shit, because it's like, I don't care about the human villains. I don't care. Like, and guess what? In both those movies, in Jurassic Park 3, there is no villains. In Jurassic Park 1 and 2, the villains die in amazing ways, right? They get eaten by dinosaurs in amazing ways. Nedry gets the whole Dilophosaurus treatment, which that scene is amazing. Not as good as in the book. For those who know, you know. But like, not as good as in the book, but it's still a great scene. I really do like the whole, like, he's trying to get him to fetch, and he's just like, nah, no wonder you're extinct. I'm gonna run you over when I come back down. Like, that whole part, and him slipping and everything, and actually getting a face full of Dilophosaurus venom, like, amazing, great. And then the guy in the the guy in Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World, he's just like, he gets eaten by the baby T-Rex who he has been taking from the island the whole time, and he's just like, wait. He just keeps saying wait. Like, it's hilarious, and it's funny, and it's like, Dennis Nedry and the rich guy from The Lost World, 2 very different characters, right? Nedry, for one, is not rich. He's going to be if he had gotten the embryos off the island, right? Because his whole thing is like, don't get cheap on me, Dodson. That was Hammond's mistake. Like, that whole part establishes that he's not content with what Hammond is paying him for the work that he does. And again, he goes on this whole rant in the movie about how he's like, you think any of that's easy or cheap? Like, he goes on this whole freaking thing about how he's treated at Jurassic Park, and like, is that even true? We don't know. For all we know, Hammond does overwork the guy, or maybe he's just a lazy bum who's that kind of nerd that he's really valuable, but like, you can't pay him more. Like, there's a whole thing there where it's like, Dennis Nedry as a character is a really great character because he has character. He has like this whole thing where he's betraying Hammond because he isn't getting paid enough, which is like, again, somewhat of an understandable thing. It's just too bad that well, number one, he had to fucking put people's lives at risk because of it, and number two, well, he had to put people's lives in risk because of it, and he ended up causing the whole damn island to shut off, But I like that Nedry was even smart enough to not let the raptors out. Like, the compound, when they do shut off they shut down the whole system, it shut down the raptor fences. And like, there's a whole part there where like, Hammond's like, why would he shut the other ones off? And like, when Muldoon and Ellie are going to the compound to turn back the system on, Muldoon is even Nedry knew better not to mess with the raptor fences. So like, it establishes Nedry as a smart, intelligent dude. He was just got a little too greedy. He thought he deserved more than he did. Like, this whole character. And then the guy in The Lost World is a very interesting dude because he's just like, he wants to make his own park on the mainland, on the actual Earth, San Diego, and like, he's like, yeah, let's just do that. We're gonna make this whole thing, and we're gonna make this whole we're gonna bring the dinosaurs to you, and like, he basically wanted to be the next John Hammond, and like, he's an interesting character. He's not just a rich white dude that wants to take dinosaurs for money purposes. And like, Jurassic World trilogy, that's all it is rich white guys, rich guys that want to do something with dinosaurs for money, whether it's selling them or making a weapon. That's all it is. Like, that's all that it is. And like, the Dodgson thing in the third movie, I don't even know what the fuck was happening there, because I only watched that movie once and I have not watched it again. I have it for my collection on DVD, but God, that movie sucked. That movie was so bad. Rebirth was better than that movie. If you've seen Jurassic Park Dominion and you thought, what did I just subject myself to? At least Rebirth is better than that. I can tell you that right now. But yeah, the rich white villain thing just blew me out of the water, because I was actually like, okay, number one, again, it's boring. Number two, you didn't even establish him as a villain enough to make me actually hate the guy, because it's like, so much of it was assumptions that he was doing bad things instead of him actually doing bad things. It's like, anyways, this is 40 minutes fucking going on so about this shit. So that was the villain part, and take of it what you will. Maybe people completely disagree with me. Leave it in the comments if you disagree with me. But like, actually look at the film. Actually try and remember if he actually did anything that's not just assumptions of what he was going to do. Like, for all we know, he did really want to help people. And like, that's really sad that Henry was fucking gaslighting our main female character into being like, he's just gonna take it for himself and sell it off to the highest bidder to get more money. Like, as far as I know, there is no part in that movie that doesn't really kind of justify where he's coming from. And the whole point of a villain is that a villain has to have no justification for doing bad things. And like, that doesn't make the rich guy in Rebirth evil. That just makes him human. So anyway, so that was that. There you go. That's what I hated that, but there you go.